Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 23. And in this episode, similar to last episode, and for foreseeable episodes for the next 2-3 weeks potentially, so that's probably around 20 episodes-ish, is my review of the 5th of December 2023 episode of Neighbours. So here is my review for the 5th of December 2023 episode of Neighbours. So the episode starts off with a previously recap and the title sequence. The protest continues. Jane and Susan talk about the violent protesters. Susan reunites with Tess. Therese watches Susan's conversation with Tess. Therese sees Jane crying in her office. Melanie is awake. Melanie's awake. Andrew enlists Tony to help secure the school. Andrew and Wendy argue about the protest. Tony checks in with Therese. Therese tells Tony about Susan and Jane. Sue Parker talks to Susan and Jane. Jane helps Andrew clear up. Sue tries to convince Jane and Therese to hire her. Jane hasn't heard from Melanie. Tony and Therese look for Melanie. Tony finds Melanie unconscious. Tony calls an ambulance for Melanie. David and Nyla are playing Connect 4. Nicolette talks to David and Aaron about the protest. Nicolette insults David's organisation. David talks about his new job. Nicolette talks about being part of Byron and Jane's lives again. And Aaron talks about the future. Melanie is now at Erinsborough Hospital, as is Susan, Jane, Therese and Tony. Therese tries to comfort Tony. Susan does the same with Jane. Therese blames Nicolette for Melanie's current condition. David and Aaron talk to Cara about returning to Ramsey Street. Nicolette tells David and Aaron about Melanie being in hospital. Jane is waiting for Melanie to wake up. Remy is Melanie's doctor. Remy tells Jane that Melanie has a high-grade concussion and has shattered a shoulder, which will require a reconstruction. Jane blames herself for Melanie's current predicament. Remy tries to reassure Jane. Melanie wakes up. Melanie tells Jane that one of Therese's security guards caused Melanie to fall down the stairs, causing her to have a concussion and shatter a shoulder. Nal has arrived at the hospital, concerned about Melanie's well-being. Jane fills in Susan, Therese, Tony and Nal. Jane also tells Therese that it was one of her security guards that caused Melanie to fall down the stairs. Therese talks to Tony about her security guards. Tony tries to calm down Therese. Susan checks in with Therese. Susan hugs Therese. David and Aaron go back to their home to pick up their and Nicolette's belongings. Nicolette chooses to go to the hospital to see Melanie. David talks to Cara about no longer being a doctor. Melanie gets overwhelmed when she sees Tony. Remy tries to calm down Melanie. Tony wants to go home. Nal does not. Susan suggests that she drops off now when she gets home. Melanie is flatlining. Melanie requires some kind of operation. Susan, Jane, Nicolette, Therese, Tony and Nell watch Melanie being taken to the operation room. And the coming up trailer and my spoiler-free thoughts are that I loved how Therese and Jane focused on Melanie rather than the school or Therese's retirement experience. And next up we've got 2 videos to talk about that were also released on the 5th of December 2023. So the first one is behind the scenes of the protest. So the director introduces the video. Filming for the protest is shown. Hannah Monsoon and Candice Lease, so that is Nicolette and Wendy, talk about the protest, as does Annie Jones and Lucinda Cowden, who is Jane and Melanie. Lloyd Will Andrew talks about his subtle changes in uniform. And the other video we've got to talk about is the protest returns video. So Jackie Woodburn, who plays Susan, introduces the video and talks about the Erinsborough High protest. Brett Belwitt talks about returning to the role of Brett Stark. Kate Kelty talks about returning to the role of Michelle Scully. Jade Amanta talks about returning to the role of Melissa Jarrett. Geordie Lucas talks about returning to the role of Summer Holland. Lucinda reunites with Jade, and Jackie concludes the video. So that's it for that review as well as the video. So let me know in the comments below if you watched this episode of Neighbours, what you thought of it. If you didn't, let me know what you thought of my review. Remember, you can also like and subscribe. And that is it for the Everything Podcast, Season 3, Episode 23. Goodbye.